What is going on, my broskiis? My name is Toadski, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video. And in today's video, we're going to be looking at the other half of the first video that we uploaded. We talked about Zoro in the first half of the video. Now this is like the sequel, which is we're going to be looking at Rob Lucci. So of course, remember, this is not a Rumble focused video. We're just looking at their normal abilities that they'll use in normal Treasure Cruise content. So Rob Lucci, I think, is a really interesting unit. I mean, I think the characters, when you look at it like in a vacuum by themselves, the characters are like pretty decent, and there isn't really a lot that separates both Zoro and Lucci. They are relatively similar, just in the fact that their captain ability just kind of boosts different characters, and the requirements in their specials are slightly different, but you know, basically it's the same unit just being able to be used in multiple different teams, right? So the captain ability of Lucci does the same thing in terms of 3 turns of Super Switch Gauge, 6 turns of Versus Gauge, phenomenal. Unfortunately, no cooldown for specials, which would have been a really nice touch. And then he also gives you a full board of recovery slots at the start of the fight, whereas Zoro would give tandem slots. And then he himself will boost strength-driven and cerebral characters rather than int, slasher, and free spirit. And then obviously he will still give buffs to other characters, and he also makes strength and recovery matching. And then the slight difference in terms of their captain ability is the additional utility effect, where Zoro would state that if you removed increased defense, he would add 2 turns of it. And then Lucci does the same thing, but it's for damage threshold instead. So while I do think that this effect is actually okay, and with the special in mind, it ends up being like a 9-turn removal. With double Lucci, it ends up being an 11-turn removal. Most of the time, you don't really need to remove that much threshold, so it is going to be a bit niche. The way that I see it is like, if you do want to use them as a captain, yes, you can definitely do that. But I think that a character like Zoro versus Lucci will be a phenomenal character to be used as a crewmate on teams. Or if you need to specifically get around a lot of turns of threshold, just utilizing them as a friend captain will also work. However, using them as a crewmate, I think, is going to be a really nice addition to your crews, mainly because both Zoro and Lucci have phenomenal crewmate abilities. The first crewmate ability just generates a full board of recovery slots at the start of the fight, which can be kind of nice. Interestingly, this Rob Lucci does work very well with the 5 elder characters. Being able to generate recovery slots is actually kind of nice, because a lot of the other 5 elder characters have ways to make recovery matching, and like specifically thinking of like Saint J. Garcia Satin and Saint Jupiter. Both of those guys, I believe, make recovery matching in their captains. So having this guy on the team alongside the other 5 elders allows you to get a lot of really nice things through that. However, the secondary crewmate ability is phenomenal, where it just says, once per adventure, whenever the enemy puts up a Rainbow Shield buff, remove 6 turns of it. It's absolutely phenomenal that he can have this as a crewmate, and this in partnership with the special, being able to remove 6 turns of Rainbow Shield, 7 turns of damage threshold, on top of the other bonuses. Like, I think Rob Lucci will be a phenomenal crewmate on driven and cerebral focused teams moving forward. Like, that crewmate ability is just absurdly good. So moving on to the special, which can partner up very well with that crewmate ability, as we mentioned, the 7 turns of threshold removal being 9 turns if he's the captain, 11 turns with double Lucci. But you also get the 2 million fixed damage that goes through everything. You get the 4 turns of Versus Gauge reduction, and that's for all characters on the crew, which is great. He also inflicts 2.25 increased damage taken against the opponent, so again, just like free damage, which is nice. And then he also will state that you do need 3 or more Cypher Pole 0, Cypher Pole 9, Navy or World Government characters, or just simply 5 or more Egghead, in order to get the additional effect of 7 turns of paralysis removal and a 1.6 chain multiplicative buff. So both of those are really nice, and it can be a little tricky at times to do that, which is CP0, CP9, Navy, World Government, or 5 or more Egghead. But of course, if you're using the 5 Elders with him, all of them are World Government. There's a lot of Navy characters you could potentially use. Unfortunately, not a ton of good CP0 or CP9 characters. Obviously, there is like a couple, but there's not like heaps to really choose from. And it would be nice, again, if we had some older characters actually receive their tags to make this effect a little bit more potent. So a little bit of a missed opportunity there. But still, the fact that he can have these defensive effect removals via the crewmate ability, via the special, and then you can have paralysis removal as well, with the special. In terms of like the amount, like giving you like a damage increasing effect, he gives you the chain multiplicative buff, which is 1.6, and well, like chain multiplicative buffs are not ultra common, so I think that's actually kind of nice that he has that. And then, of course, the 2.25 increased damage taken, which can be enhanced, actually, via the versus effect of, like, Zora, for example. So, like, there are effects that can increase damage taken, but still just getting 2.25 times increased damage taken is never a bad thing to have. So I think the special ability is relatively okay. Fixed damage, threshold removal, paralysis removal, chain multiplicative, increased damage taken. It's a pretty good special that can partner very well with a Rainbow Shield removal via the crewmate ability, and also getting a full board of recovery at the start of the fight. There's lots to like with this guy. Now finally, we have the Versus special. So the Versus special of this character, you do need 18 turns pass, or you can also consume Recovery, Tandem, Wano, or Rainbow to lower that. 18 turns is a lot, but of course you have Versus gauge removal in the Captain ability. You have a way to just generate a full board of recovery slots at the start of the quest. His special also gives you Versus gauge reduction. So there's lots of different ways to get his Versus gauge ready a lot quicker than it normally would actually be. Now the effect itself, it does give you 5 turns of attack down removal, and it also changes bottom row slots into recovery. I really wish with the Versus abilities that they would change through block slots. That would be a really nice addition to them. Unfortunately, that is not the case. And then it also will give a 1.5 chain addition. So he can do chain addition and multiplicative. I may have gotten the special and the Versus effect mixed up, because I'm just reading off of the database at the moment, and it has the same multiplicative effect for both, but it is actually, you get multiplicative from one, chain addition from the other, so that's really cool. And then also buffing final tap of Driven and Cerebral by 30%, which can work relatively well with the 5 Elders if you're final tapping with Nushiro, or you're final tapping with the Rush of J. Garcia Satin, both of which can get a nice damage bonus because of that. So ultimately, Rob Lucci is going to be a really nice supporter role character for future Driven and Cerebral focused teams. I think currently he will predominantly be used in Driven focused teams because of how well he works with the 5 Elder characters. But do note that whenever we get new Cerebral teams to work with in the future, this is going to be a fantastic character to work alongside them. Because all you really need to get like the major benefits is 3 or more of the CP0 or CP9 Navy World Government. So as long as you're running this guy and then 2 other units that are within those tags, you're getting that additional paralysis and the additional chain effect from the special, it's going to actually turn out to work out quite well in your favor. So ultimately, I do think this is a very strong Versus unit. I don't think it's anywhere near like top 5 level worthy, but this is just a really good, solid legend that is going to work really well in a lot of teams moving forward. So hopefully you enjoyed this video today. I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions about him down below in the comment section. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed it, make sure to go ahead and leave a like. And if you want to stay up to date with all of the content I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. And that, guys, I'll see you guys within the next video.